Welcome to the Persecution Report, a podcast dedicated to uncovering the truth behind the current situation in Bangladesh. According to a number of human rights campaign groups, including Ain Shalish Kendro ASK, Manabadhikar Sanskritik Foundation MSF, and Mohila Porishad, Bangladesh has experienced a significant increase in violent crimes, particularly in the areas of murder, mugging, robbery, and mob violence. A report published in the Dhaka Tribune in December 2024 states that from September to November 2024, there were 583, 399, and 337 murders in those respective months, compared to 238, 258, and 227 murders during the same months in the previous year, 2023. On average, 439 murders were committed monthly, nearly doubling the average of what it was in the previous year. The situation deteriorated further between January and June 2025. A total of 1,930 murders recorded, averaging 11 per day. The environment presents serious concerns regarding public safety and security. The law and order situation has significantly deteriorated since July-August 2024, when police and law and order and security forces were brutally attacked, and some of them, and many of them, were killed during that particular riots by unruly mobs. The July-August 2024 rioting served as a forewarning of what the country would continue to encounter in the coming months. The prevalence of criminal activities, often occurring without accountability, has increased significantly over the last 1 year. Instances of deceased individuals being discovered in rivers have become alarmingly common. This situation has resulted in a disturbing atmosphere that resembles a dystopian reality rather than the normal day-to-day lives which we are all accustomed to. To discuss this issue, today I'm accompanied with a panel of experts. Please join me in welcoming Barrister Taposh Kumar Bol, former prosecutor, International Crimes Tribunal, Bangladesh, and Senior Associate of South Asian Development Democratic Forum, Mr. Tono Imroj Alam, human rights activist and member of the editorial board of BD Digest, Mr. Anwar Shadat Jihan, aerospace engineer and columnist, and Mr. Saifur Rahman, IT expert, blogger, and director, Global Justice Network Foundation. So before we move further, I would like to request Mr. Jihan to share some slides and take us through the situation, what is happening right now in Bangladesh.
Thank you, Mr. Dey, for inviting me today, and many thanks to the distinguished panelists for your time. Since the fall of the Awami League-led government last year, Bangladesh has transformed into a place where rivers are no longer a habitat for fish, instead have become a dumping ground for bodies of crime victims. The intricate network of waterways that makes Bangladesh unique has turned into a nightmare for the law enforcement agencies. In a matter of only 6 to 7 months this year, 301 bodies were recovered from rivers across the country. That means 43 bodies per month on average, just this year alone. On August 23rd, River Police have recovered 4 bodies, including that of a woman and a child, from the Buriganga River in Dhaka. Autopsies revealed that they were strangled before being dumped. Just a few days later, on August 27th, police have recovered a headless body from the Shitalakha River in Rajbari. And through fingerprint analysis, it was found that the victim is Habib, just a 27-year-old man. In June this year, from Matamuhuri River in Bandarban, a body of a tourist was recovered. And in December last year, 7 crew members were brutally murdered aboard a cargo vessel in Meghna. The attackers attacked him, stabbed them during their sleep, and left them to die. And we also remember the incidents with the Borishal University official whose body was found from a canal. So if we look at all these incidents, these are not some isolated incidents. Rather, these are part of a very frightening pattern. What stands out the most is not the rising number of the bodies, but the gruesome nature of these crimes. If we look in April this year, another headless body was recovered from the Padma River. And the deceased was Jihad Sharkar. Beheading, stoning, killing with bricks and stones are becoming dangerously common in Bangladesh, resembling the brutality of the medieval age. Just 1.5 months back, the nation was shaken by the brutal death of Lang Chand, a trader in Dhaka, in broad daylight. The attackers not only attacked him with bricks and stones, they crushed his body, stripped him of his clothing, and even jumped on his body as he lay there dying. This is the sickness that we are seeing in Bangladesh today. And this sickness has reached to its extreme. Just a couple days back, we have seen it. An extremist Tawhidi mob violently stormed the grave of Nurul Haq. To his devotees, he is known as Nurul Pagla. They exhumed his body and set it on fire. After violently vandalizing his home, attacking his devotees, and resulting hundreds of those devotees being injured. This is also not an isolated incident. After the fall of the government last year in September, the valiant freedom fighter Moinuddin Badal's grave was vandalized in Chittagong. And there has been a rising trend of attacks against Sufi shrines all across the country. Some 40 plus Sufi shrines were attacked in a matter of 1 year. And we are seeing a collision between various religious sects of the society. If we take a look into the incidents at Hathajari yesterday. So these are all of these are not any isolated incidents. In Chief Advisor Yunus's Bangladesh today, in Nobel laureate Yunus's Bangladesh today, even the dead bodies don't have any dignity, don't have any security. Besides all this political victim of Yunus, the particular sector of society that is suffering the most is the journalists. Journalists across the country are facing unprecedented violence. On one hand, they are being jailed, and on the other, they are being attacked and killed for their work. On August 7th, a journalist named Asaduzzaman Tuhin, was hacked to death with a machete just because he filmed some armed man in Gazipur. And a days before that, another journalist named Anwar Hussain, he was attacked with bricks just because he reported on extortion. And August 22nd, if you recall that event, that the body of a veteran journalist, Bibhuranjan Sarkar, was recovered from the Meghna River. And allegedly, he received government intimidation prior to that, and also sent a final piece to a newspaper. So this is the situation of journalists right now in Bangladesh. And besides the journalists, the situation of women is equally alarming. Violence against women, including rape, has risen sharply. Just from the official data alone, some 4,293 cases have been lodged in a matter of 1 year. So if we look at all these incidents, it is clear that the law and order in Bangladesh is at its worst since 2008. Law enforcement agencies are broken, citizens are unprotected, and the rivers of Bangladesh are becoming tragically a mass grave. Whoever is watching this, I would like to thank you for your attention to this matter, and I'm looking forward to having a meaningful and honest discussion today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jihan. That's been extremely insightful, at the same time tremendously concerning presentation. And on that note, I would now like to go to Barrister Ball to reflect on this particular situation. Do you think that this is? I mean, we may often say that in a developing country like Bangladesh, deteriorating law and order situation is not uncommon. But do you think, even by that standard, it is extraordinary? Over to you, Barrister Ball.
Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. As I said, this is extraordinary even in Bangladesh is a developing country, and the current situation in Bangladesh is not merely a breakdown of law and order. It is a collapse of governance, accountability, and moral leadership. What we are witnessing is the tragic consequence of an inexperienced and dangerously incompetent interim government of Dr. Yunus, which came to power following the July-August riot, or we can say it as Color Revolution of 2024. This regime has failed to uphold even the most basic responsibilities of the state, protecting its citizens, maintaining public order, and ensuring justice. Under this interim authority, right-wing Islamist political forces have resurged, emboldened by the release of extremists and convicted war criminals like ATM Azharul Islam, a man found guilty of crimes against humanity and genocide during 1971. His release, along with others, sends a chilling message that impunity is now state-sanctioned. This has had a domino effect. Mob violence has become normalized, and attacks on police and security forces, once unthinkable, are now routine. The very institutions meant to protect the public are under siege. What is the result? Rivers turning into dumping grounds for corpses. This is not metaphorical. It is the grim reality of a nation where murder has become a daily statistic, not a national emergency. We must also confront the targeted violence against minorities, women, journalists, teachers, and dissenters. These attacks are not random, they are ideological. They are part of a broader campaign to silence voices of reason, secularism, and resistance. The rise of religious extremism has coincided with a sharp decline in civil liberties and human rights. And behind this chaos, we must not ignore the role of Muhammad Yunus, whose alleged corruption and political maneuvering have contributed to the erosion of democratic institutions. His influence over key sectors has created a shadow economy of privilege and protection, while ordinary citizens suffer. This is not just a crisis, it is a transformation from flawed democracy to a dystopian state where violence is routine, justice is absent, and fear is omnipresent. If Bangladesh is to recover, we must demand accountability from this interim regime, restore the rule of law, and dismantle the networks of extremism and corruption that have brought us to this brink. Over to you, Dada. Bidit, over to you.
Thank you very much, Barrister Ball. That's, I mean, you have covered some very important areas. First of all, about incompetency of the government. At the same time, this culture of impunity that is being reflected across the administration and the way law and order situation is being dealt. But at the same time, you also mentioned about the release of convicted criminals, including war criminals, including the ones who committed crimes against humanity. And under these situations, I'll now come to Mr. Tanaim Roj about being a journalist, being involved in editing responsibility duties. How do you see the situation with regard to the deteriorating law and order conditions in Bangladesh?
In just two words, despicable, grim, hopeless. I probably used one extra word, hopeless, because that's how we feel about Bangladesh right now, the country that was labeled as the emerging tiger of Asia. In just 1 year, now we are seeing reports of many international media that this is probably the next Afghanistan, and economically, next Pakistan. If I am to go to search the reason, there is one basic fundamental of it, that a government that is immoral, a government that do not have morality. And here I disagree with Barrister Taposh Kanti Baul to some extent, that we are saying the government's experience, an inexperienced government. That is not the case, because when the past government left, they actually left a very experienced bureaucracy, institutions that are strong. We have a military force, armed force, 250,000. We have a police force that is 200,000, although their morals were extremely broken as they were killed and murdered by the extremists. Now, if we are to examine what's exactly happening in Bangladesh, let's first examine who are doing this. Let's examine the events of past 2 days in Bangladesh. As you know, in Bangladesh, 90% people are Muslims, and Islam came to the land of Bengal through Sufis. And to the Sufis, people who follow the Sufi sect of Islam in Bangladesh, to them, the birth date of Prophet Muhammad, is very significant, very important. This is one of their very important days. And then we have this extremist Islam that have been rising since Yunus came to power. They are opposing this event, this celebration. They are saying this is not proper Islam. They are imposing their Islam to others' Islam. It's the religious intolerance we see in the extremist sect. That's exactly what we are doing in the past 2 days. These extremist Islamists, they're attacking those Sufi Islamists. Their shrines have been broken, and gruesome of all, despicable, that a person, a Sufi saint, was dug out of his final resting place, beaten. A dead body is beaten in broad daylight in front of law and order agencies, and then the body was burnt. Who did this? These are the people, these extremists. We have been reporting, international media have been reporting, that since Muhammad Yunus came to power, he gave indemnity to the terrorists. Under his rule, Hizb ut-Tahrir, an international organization, is a terrorist organization, is organizing rallies in public in Bangladesh. That never happened before in the past 16 years. Terrorists like Jasmuddin Rahmani, we know him very well, has been released. scores of terrorist jihadists have been released. And these are the people with indemnity and with impunity are doing these despicable crimes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tano Imroj. That's again very grim indeed. And both of the panelists actually have referred to the rioting situation in July, August 2024, which led to killing of scores of police personnel, although the number is disputed, but we know that for fact there were a lot of casualties. May I request Mr. Jihan to take us through some of the slides so that our viewers can refresh their memories about what happened in July, August 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Dey. So the law and order situation that we are seeing today in Bangladesh did not happen overnight. It happened in a very organized way by an organized cabal of elitists. And one important part of their conspiracy was to destroy the law enforcement of Bangladesh. And as part of this, last year in July, starting in July, there had been a significant rise in violences against police officers. Some of these organizers of this so-called Quota movement have openly confessed of killing police officers. That by doing that, they broke the morale of the law enforcement and successfully toppled the democratically elected Awami League government. Just from the official data alone, more than 44 or 45 police officers were killed in just the month July alone. And this is just the official data. There are information where we are seeing that the number may be in the thousands. Out of the 693 police stations in Bangladesh, more than 450 were completely vandalized and destroyed as part of their strategy to destroy the law enforcement of Bangladesh. Some politicians from the BNP openly confessed about storming into a police stations and destroying and killing officers in the process. At the Enayatpur police station, where 14 police officers were killed. And this does not stop only after the democratic government was toppled. After August 5th, the violence against police officers continued. Now, the organizational structure of the police are completely broken. And if you guys look into this, some of these horrific images, it is really hard to even take a look. All these are photos from officers being killed by violent mobs. We have seen bodies like an animal being hung from overbridge at Raya Bazaar. Even a pregnant police officer who was begging for her life was not spared. It was their grudge against a rising Bangladesh, the emerging tiger that Mr. Tanoy appropriately said. And successfully, they were able to completely destroy the overall police structures in Bangladesh. Now there is no organizational structures. Now they're hiring police officers from extremist organizations, from extremist background without proper vetting. And all this come from this violence against police officers in July. Thank you, Mr. Dey.
Thank you. So what you can see, viewers, here, that at one side, a police and law enforcing agency, which was functioning well, has been completely demoralized. The institution has been near to the verge of destruction. And on the other side, we're also seeing that there is a simultaneous effort to corrupting the same agency, and which is being reflected on some of the recent development. Multiple international community organizations have already criticized Muhammad Yunus's regime for either enabling or continuing human rights violations. If I may just focus on a few kind of incidents, there is a particular pattern of abuse within police custody. At least 17 individuals died in custody during the police operations only in this year, and 4 of them died in Bogora within 29 days. There is also an effort of weaponizing the custody. And at the same time, we know that dubious cases have been filed against politicians, against lawyers, students, cultural activists, journalists, you name it. Whoever stands against the government, whoever raises their voice, will have serious persecution and consequences. So when we are talking about it, we see that there is a concern about human rights violations and the dead bodies being floated, dead bodies being dumped in rivers. Also is an emblematic of this deteriorating human rights situation in Bangladesh. We are fortunate to have some very experienced human rights campaigners here, Professor Barrister Ball, Mr. Tono Imroj, and Mr. Saifur Rahman. All of them have had significant experience of campaigning for human rights. May I start with Barrister Ball to make a reflection on this issue, and then I'll go to Mr. Saifur Rahman. Barrister Ball, please.
Thank you for the question. The situation that is narrated when I was watching the slides, they are very disturbing. The disturbing trend of bodies being dumped in rivers, according to presentation, graves being exhumed and burned, and the normalization of mob violence is not just a breakdown of law and order. It is the symptom of a more profound human rights crisis unfolding under the interim government led by Muhammad Yunus. At the heart of this crisis is impunity. Perpetrators of violence, whether political mobs, religious extremists, or state actors, are not only escaping justice, they are often being protected or enabled by the regime. The politicization of the judiciary, the administration, and even the election commission has created an environment where victims have no recourse. They don't enjoy neutrality, and dissenters are criminalized. Let me begin with the case of journalist Monjurul Alam Panna, and Professor Sheikh Hafizur Rahman Karjun, my teacher, who were violently attacked during a peaceful discussion on the 1971 Liberation War. Instead of protecting them, the police arrested them under the draconian Anti-Terrorism Act. They were dragged to the court. The court denied them bail and subjected them to degrading treatment in custody in front of the judge. In Bangladesh and international watchdogs have condemned these as arbitrary detention and a violation of international law. Which these whole incidents are already, well reported in different international news portals. And this is not an isolated incident. The Jatiyo Party's central office was set on fire twice in last 10 days, with mobs chanting slogans and demanding its ban. The police response was delayed and no serious investigation followed. This is emblematic of the mob rule that has replaced institutional governance.
I would like to intervene for a minute.
Right.
It is not right that it was not investigated. It was investigated, and we have seen the senior government ministers, who are called advisors these days, and the stakeholders of the government. Stakeholders of the government, such as Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, and Jamaat-e-Islami, they are demanding banning of Jatiyo Party from Bangladesh's political landscape. So these are the victims. We have seen this. This is a pattern we are seeing, that someone, for extortion or any other reason, the Yunus supporters, especially the members of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, or Jamaat-e-Islami, or other Islamist party, they would beat up a victim, which is mob. We have seen 637 mob lynching. 637, I mean, when like 5 or 10 is like lost, like a massive number for any country with rule of law in any part of the world. We have seen 637 in 1 year mobility. So what happens? These BNP and Jamaat Islam activists, Yunus's people, they go, they beat up someone, and after, when police come, the victim goes to the custody. The perpetrators are released. This is a pattern we are seeing in Bangladesh. And any investigation by any media would say that there are hundreds of reports of that. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, thank you. You have rightly intervened, and I completely agree with you that the rise of Islamic forces in Bangladesh has led to this. If you analyze the last, and whatever I'm going to say next, the common analysis of everything is that the moment Awami League left the scenario, I mean, Awami League was forced to leave the scenario, then after this, they are fighting, these forces are fighting between themselves for control of Bangladesh. Look at what happened in Hathajari and even in other shrines and other places. Everywhere, actually, people want to take control. So I will get back to the situation in Bangladesh, and I will start from where I left. That is, places of worship have not been spared. Since August 2024, over 105 Sufi shrines, which you've just said, have been destroyed by extremist groups like Hizbut Tahrir and Jamaat-e-Islami. The interim government has made only 23 arrests, despite widespread destruction and threats to millions of Sufi followers. The silence of the regime is not neutrality, it is complicity. I also want to mention the attacks on the Ahmadiyyas, not only in Dhaka, but also in other districts. In a widespread angle, their shrines and places of worship are also attacked. Both religion and ethnic minorities are under siege in Bangladesh. According to the Bangladesh Hindu-Buddhist Christian Unity Council, 2,442 incidents of violence against minorities were recorded between August 2024 and June 2025. These include murders, rapes, forced evictions, and destruction of temples. Minority leaders have been excluded from reform commissions, and their calls for justice have been ignored. Take the case of Chinmoy Krishna Prabhu, a revered Hindu monk. He was arrested on November on false sedition charges, denied bail multiple times, and subjected to a coordinated crackdown in Chittagong. His arrest was based on fabricated evidence, and Islamist lawyers obstructed his legal representation. This is a textbook case of state-sponsored persecution. If you remember, the lawyers of Chittagong Bar Association who supported Chinmoy Prabhu's case, they were tortured, they were threatened by the Islamic forces. Still, a lot of lawyers are running or are not living even in their homes because of this. Even prominent figures are not safe in Bangladesh. Barrister Rumin Farhana, for example, was attacked at the Election Commission during a boundary hearing. The Election Commission failed to intervene, and the incident was politicized rather than investigated. This reflects the collapse of institutional neutrality. Even the laws that are being proposed by the Election Commission recently regarding boundary and who cannot participate and who can participate says us that this institution is totally politicized right now. Professor Abul Barkat, a respected economist and minority rights advocate, was arrested in a late night raid. Though the government claims it was a corruption case, many see it as a political vendetta for his outspoken criticism of extremism and his advocacy for Hindu rights. We still don't know that in which situation he is living in the prison. And what of journalists like Shahriar Kabir, whose bail petitions were repeatedly denied due to state interference? Their detention is not about law, it is about silencing truth.
On that note, Professor Bola, if I may interject here,
Please.
that there is a particular pattern here you can see particularly between Mr. Shahriar Kabir and Professor Barakat. Both were vocal against religious extremist groups, particularly, if I may be very clear about it, Jamaat-e-Islami. Do you see that there's a clear sort of provocation and influence by the largest Islamist party in Bangladesh, which is Jamaat-e-Islami?
Absolutely. I also want to mention about Mr. Kolimullah, who was a former vice chancellor of a renowned university, right, Rokia University in Rangpur. So what is happening against him? He was also arrested in phony cases just because he was vocal, he was dissenting. So what is the case about the supporters of Awami League? Thousands of cases have been filed against them, the leaders, many of them politically motivated, and most of them are actually. The Human Rights Watch report confirms that over 92,000 people were charged and 8,600 were arrested in a single crackdown. Yet, security forces responsible for past abuses remain untouched, and the Rapid Action Battalion continues to operate without reform. Even today, I read that they were arresting a businessman illegally when all the people were just attacked them, and then that businessman was released. Look at the UN report. Even the UN report, while acknowledging the brutality of the previous regime, fails to capture the current climate of fear and repression fully. It praises the interim government's cooperation, but overlooks the selective justice and cherry picking of human rights narratives. The government uses terms like fascism to deflect criticism and delegitimize dissent while continuing its own authoritarian practices. That's why UN report is also not acceptable, and it was a biased report. In closing, this is not just a law and order issue. It is a human rights emergency. As the title suggests, the rivers filled with corpses, the shrines reduced to ashes, the journalists behind bars. These are not isolated tragedies. I would say there is a pattern. They are the consequence of a regime that has politicized justice, weaponized fear, and abandoned its duty to protect its people. This is time when we must demand accountability, not just for the past, but for the present. And we must ensure that Bangladesh does not become a graveyard of democracy, truth, and human dignity. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Barrister Ball. So from the discussion, we can see that there are persistent and coordinated attacks on minority groups, their places of worship. Muslim shrines in particular have been under severe attack, alongside a troubling rise in violence against women and the members of the third gender. So it is evident that human rights situation in Bangladesh is at its worst level ever experienced. The current law and order exemplify that the government is attempting to suppress and stifle and muzzle the voices or any dissent that comes their way, and marginalize minority communities, and at the same time they are actually pandering to religious extremist groups. But also this is coinciding with a general sense of anarchy. People feel a lack of security because there are anarchy everywhere. Mob violence is erupting everywhere. Every day we get to know about stories about mob violence. So on that note, I would like to request Mr. Saifur Rahman to take us through, because he is a campaigner of human rights. And how do you see the anarchies unfolding in Bangladesh?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Let me dive into the matter and the reality according to what we hear from different sources who are currently living in Bangladesh. If we look at Bangladesh over the past year, from August 2024 to now, It's honestly been chaos. I mean, the numbers are really, really shocking. Over 600 people killed in mob violence, lynching happening almost every other week. Even police officers were not spared. According to Aino Shalish Kenro, they have confirmed close to 180 deaths, and that's just what they could verify in last few months. So what's really going on there? Well, here's the ugly truth. The so-called interim government, which was supposed to stay neutral and bring stability to the country, is actually playing politics. They have cozied up with BNP, Jamaat, and the newly formed NCP. These are the same groups that fueled last year's street anarchy, and now somehow they're just untouchable. Some of their leaders even sit in advisory positions. Imagine that the people who tore
On
up
that
law and order.
note,
Yes.
sorry, Mr. Just to compliment what you have said, press secretary said at some point that you cannot call them mob violence; these are pressure groups, which created widespread criticism. I'm sorry, I'm having a laughter to even while talking this grim situation, because these people, they have made a complete joke out of administering the whole country. And recently, one of the advisors, who was also a student leader, supposedly student leader, self-proclaimed student leader, Asif Mahmood, said that you cannot call mob violence because they are legitimate protesters who actually vandalized Jatiyo Party office. So yes, just to add to what you were saying, that there are concrete evidence to support your claim
Exactly.
that this is
Uh,
patronized by the government.
exactly.
And
That's what I
myself,
was about to say.
I also like to add another point here, that Muhammad Yunus himself once said that the minorities are attacked, the minorities are tortured, minorities are persecuted because they are known as Awami League supporters.
Exactly. It's a complete,
Immoral and shameful.
yeah. What a shame. Like, imagine that these people who tore up the complete law and order situation and were behind all those anarchy are now running the show, and they're not even hiding it. If you check their social media, they're openly calling for more conflicts, even hinting at civil war. It's basically a politics of intimidation. The message is very clear. They want to hold on to power by any means necessary. So here we are in a country where might is right, where there is no accountability, no responsibility, and the government, I mean the so called government, instead of fixing it, they're enabling it. That's the real tragedy nowadays. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
would like to I would like to draw a
Before
distinction
you
here.
also, just to remind you one thing, which Mr. Rahman actually raised a very, very important point here, is that about the threat for civil war. And it's not like once or twice, repetitively. And one of the advisors, who is also being portrayed as the mastermind behind the July August uprising, talks about civil war. I think Bangladesh is perhaps this interim government is the only government in the entire world where a government ministerial person threatens with fear for civil war. Over to you, Mr. Tanai.
Yeah, I would like to draw a distinction here. The difference between Bangladesh Awami League and the evil forces there who are with Muhammad Yunus, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the Jamaat Islami and all other Islamist force. That if you remember the groundbreaking Sachar report of Justice Rajendra Sachar in India, and there Justice Sachar Marx that equal treatment of the minorities is the acid test for a government. Uh, under Bangladesh, Awami League's watch in Bangladesh, okay, there were turbulence, but no one could ever call it systematic or institutional, that any institution of the government or any institution of the party are persecuting the minorities. When the minority groups of a country feel safer, confident to a political party, that is the right political party. No one can argue this. This is just an argument because
on the
this is a basic fundamental of human rights. This is a basic fundamental of a country, of constitution and constitutionalism. Equal rights, empowerment
yes.
of minorities. Yes, please.
Yes, I would like to add two things here with Tonoi. The first thing is when Professor Yunus was being asked by different journalists in different conferences outside Bangladesh, he was repeatedly denying it and was telling, okay, these minorities are the voters of Awami League and politically these attacks are politically motivated, as if politically motivated attacks are just justified. That's very strange, and even we can see till now they're completely in a denial mode. Like just denying. They are not even acknowledging those attacks. So if you don't acknowledge, you will never will be able to fix it.
It's actually not true. They acknowledged it. They
I would like to,
acknowledged that attacks, 2,000 attacks on Hindu and the minorities happened in Bangladesh, and after acknowledging it, they gave the perpetrators indemnity. They issued the indemnity because they acknowledged. They knew it happened, and they want to safeguard the
even
perpetrators.
it took a while for them to recognize or acknowledge that initially.
I would like to bring all of your attention to a matter here. All these people that are in power right now, they are supposedly the biggest human rights proponents, right? They have been selling human rights and they have been earning their bread and butter from selling human rights and freedom of expression for years. But what are they doing right now? Are human rights selective to them? Or what is the definition of human rights to them?
That's what I said, that they're not only selective, they're cherry picking whenever they are providing or in case of acknowledging. For example, they would have totally disowned the incidents that took place against the religious minorities in Bangladesh and ethnic minorities. But since it was widespread and reported in international media, that's why they couldn't deny it. But as Mr. Tonoi has just rightly said, that they just provided impunity, which is not only unconstitutional, which is totally against international law.
And if
I will just I'll just say one thing, that why we are saying that these uprising is not spontaneous, because Yunus and his cohorts, they are repeatedly saying that this is meticulously designed. Even Jamaat, Hizbut Tahrir, and other Islamist forces, whenever they are talking, they are bragging that this was deeply planned and they started the planning quite early. And even they had foreign investment for this.
And lobbyist groups.
And they had designed in a way like USAID. This is not, we can say it loudly, right? That USAID provided fund to their favorite artists, their favorite journalists, authors, and column writers, so that they can put it in front of the young people and totally misled them about the Awami League government. Now, the 1971 is in crisis. Women, minority, everyone, single one of them in crisis. Even people like Barrister Rumin Farhana, who were dire critic of Awami League government, she was forced to say that she never felt insecure in last 15 years.
So much, yeah.
So much.
As we know, the Democratic Party of the United States, who were in power at that time, had a very good connection with Muhammad Yunus, and it was easy for him to mislead the Democrats. I would not necessarily say that the United States wanted to harm Bangladesh or wants to harm Bangladesh. It is probably not the intention. They thought, okay, we are going to bring back democracy in the country. But Bangladesh already had democracy. It may not be perfect, but we had rule of law. We had dream. We were prosperous. And here I would like to add one point, which I add every now and then. That is a telltale sign of terrorism. Like you have seen Palmyra, you have seen like in Taliban control Afghanistan, the Bamians. What they do is that they destroy sculptures, they destroy heritage sites, they destroy music, they destroy culture. And this is exactly what happened in Bangladesh in the last 1 year. 1,400 sculptures, museums, heritage sites have been vandalized. When 1,400, not one or two, I mean 1,400 heritage cultural sites and sculptures are destructed in Bangladesh, tarnished, demolished, that means terrorism are in Bangladesh, terrorists are in charge, and when those terrorists are given impunity and indemnity, that means this government nurturing them for their
I can add a
Yes.
news here. Sorry for interruption. Today I have read a news like the government has lost in last 1 year more than 1,000 crore of revenue, which used to come from tourism and industry. That means the international tourists are not feeling safe to visit Bangladesh anymore.
Even local tourists don't feel safe to travel across
Yeah.
the country.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
various countries are closing their doors for the Bangladeshis. Every month, a
Very
new
true.
country is stopping visas.
Yeah, and that is
if you
severely
want to see, if you want to know what's happening in the tourism sector in Bangladesh, you have to go to Chandranath Pahar. As we know, Chandranath Pahar in Sitakunda, Chittagong, is one of the holiest places of the Hindu religious follower in Bangladesh, and and also a tourist hotspot because of that holy place. It's not the Hindus, the Muslims are going there too. The past 1 year, what we are hearing is that the Muslim fundamentalists like Mufti Harun Hijahar, who was in jail under our government, is saying there is going to be a mosque in the holy place of the Hindus. And this is a tourist site. Okay, which tourist is going to be there?
and when
In a
we talk about
place like that?
vandalizing sculptures, all obviously a result of mob violence. So when mob violence happened, and Saifur Rahman actually provided the stats of more than 600 mob violences took place across the country in just 1 year, and the security forces didn't act at all. And then what we saw in Gopalganj, when they were standing up against Army League activists, the security forces opened fire. And that led to 5 or 6 casualties. So again, it goes back to what Barrister Ball also mentioned about the selective application of law enforcement. So which means that effectively the law enforcement agencies are capable, or they can go to very large extent, but they won't do unless there is a political decision behind it. Do you agree with that?
I agree completely about
Definitely.
politics.
There is no point of disagreement here.
Yeah.
Right
Also,
now
let's
in
not
Bangladesh,
forget. Let's not forget Bangladeshi law and order enforcement agencies are trained by FBI and British MI6, and their law enforcement of the agencies, like Europeans and Australians, Americans, British, everyone trained the Bangladeshi law enforcement agencies. The past 16 years, Bangladesh invested so much into it that building a professional and capable law enforcement agencies. We have seen that. Like, this country didn't become prosperous for no reason. It's a country of 144,000 square kilometers, very small land area, and 168 million people, a large amount of people, with very limited resources, and still we became prosperous because we built it in the last 16 years. We took help from it.
I want to add one thing is people always the time claim that in Awami League time, only Awami League people were appointed in the government jobs, including police and others. But look at the reality. Where are these Jamaat administrative officers are coming from? Where are these Jamaat army officers, police constables, police officers are coming from? Right? Jamaat teachers are coming from. Where are they coming from? Jamaati students are coming from. So this is, I mean, people, there could be only two explanations. One is they were hiding and they were portraying themselves, or there could be a really good recruiting system, right, in Bangladesh, which was really neutral, that did not actually judge people on the basis of their political beliefs, on the basis of their religion, or whatever. Any of the primordial factors were not taken into consideration. So that is what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thanks for taking part in this discussion. Dear viewers, the ongoing concern revolves around identifying effective remedies and determining the future trajectory of Bangladesh. Currently, there appears to be, as our panelists were alluding to, a significant lack of accountability. There is no individuals, no entities who would assume responsibility for the prevailing issues. The nation seems to lack both decisive leadership, at the same time coordinated and orchestrated strategic decision and direction. Consequently, one must consider that the expectation is that this regime needs to be pressurized by international communities. We already have noticed many international journalists, political leaders, and human rights activists have raised their concern about the ongoing human rights issues and the brutality and the incompetency of the current regime. While that is there, we also would expect that more pressure should come along so that the interim government, the current interim government led by Muhammad Yunus, makes decisive and immediate actions to stop human rights violations, to stop murders, and enhance the law and order and improve the law and order situation. That's all from me for today. Stay well, stay safe, and take the very best care of yourself.
Thank you.
Until next time, this is Bidit Day, signing off.